Good afternoon, team. How are we all? Hope everyone's well. Welcome to our Saturday afternoon wine tasting. For those of you that managed to get hold of the Chenin Blancs that we're tasting today, well done. I know it wasn't easy. They flew off the shelves, went really quickly. We ran out of the Vouvray super quick. So we didn't realise how many people were going to join in. It's great that you want to join in with the same wines as we're drinking. So what we're going to do for next week, we're going to be tasting some Chardonnays next week. Talking about the Chardonnay grape. I know that's a divisive grape for some people, but trust me, there's a Chardonnay out there for everyone. If you drink a white wine, you can drink Chardonnay. But what we're going to do is say to you guys today, if you're interested in doing the tasting with us next weekend, to ensure we have enough wine, register your interest soon. So today, tomorrow, over the weekend. If you can let me know by Monday or Tuesday next week that you want to join in on the next wine tasting, and don't worry, it won't make the wine super expensive, and there'll be one of them might be kind of mid-range and one will be a bit lower down. So if you're interested, let me know by Monday, Tuesday next week, and we can get those bottles in for you to join in next weekend for sure. So we just guarantee that more of you can have the same wines. You can go down the supermarket and get wines that are similar, but you know, it's nice to have the same, right? So back to today. So those of you who managed to get hold of the two wines, we're tasting our beautiful Vouvray Demi-Sec. This is Le Coteau Touffier. And we're also tasting the Stormy Cape Chenin Blanc from the Western Cape, South Africa. So let's get down to it today. First off, Le Coteau. Now, you guys know that we have this in the bar. And you also know, probably if you've spoken to me about it, how much I love this wine. So I'm going to try not to be biased, all right? But this wine, let's have a little chat about it first. So it's 100% Chenin Blanc. It's 12.5%, so it's not a big, heavy wine. You know, I know white wines can get quite pokey. This one's nice, easygoing in terms of the ABV. It's made by a guy called Guillaume Latang. And he is from just outside Chablis, born and bred in that region, and has made wine pretty much all his life. Since he was a teenager, he got into making wine and learning about wine then. Worked as a cellar boy, ended up becoming a master of wine down in Burgundy, I think, and then ended up working for one of the large international conglomerate winemaking companies after having made wine for himself for quite a while. And now he represents some of the biggest labels out there, making and sourcing wine. So he knows his apples, this guy, or in this case, he knows his grapes, thank God. Ciders, you know, it's a different kettle of fish, let's not even go there today. Now, he knows his stuff, and he also makes this wine with a wonderful woman called Samantha Bailey, who is a master blender. And she and he worked together to produce this wine. So you've got some real pedigree behind the makers of this wine. The Vouvray obviously is an appellation in itself, and in that appellation there's various different topography, there's slight variations in climate, there's variations in the wine that's made, and that's based on the seasonality of the weather, it's based on the grapes, it's based on the way that the people integrate and manage their land with their winemaking. In the case of these guys, they use old vines for their grapes. They use these old vines. Now, old vines, typically, if you ask different people, they'll tell you a different definition for that. What does that mean? Does it mean, 10 years old vine, 15 years old, 25? You find people throwing the term around a lot, but what does it actually mean? When a vine's sort of typically around 40 years or something like that, you're going to say, yeah, that's an old vine. Now, in wine parlance, old vines normally mean the vines slow down its rate of growth. It's not as vigorous and it's not as rampant as it would have been. We talked about Chenin Blanc and how rampant the grape growth is, the vine growth is. It can be very difficult to manage. So the benefit of having an older vine is that it slows down, it's matured a bit, you know, its growth spurt's finished. Unlike me, you know, I'm still growing, obviously. Yeah, I'll be 6 foot soon. Keep telling myself that. But these vines have slowed down. And the idea there is they take less management in terms of pruning during the season and keeping the excess fruit off the vines to make sure that the grapes that grow are good quality. Part of that work's done for you because the vines got older and it's slowed down, and the grapes it produces, in theory, should be less plentiful but of better quality. Now, it doesn't always go that way, but it's a term that's thrown around quite a lot, and I think there's obviously truth in it. These vines are therefore of good stock, they're old, and they've been being pruned and tamed for a long time, so you would hope that they're producing good fruit, and in this case, it's pretty safe to say they are. So, you might remember we chatted about the maturation technique difference between New World and Old World. So in the Old World and with this wine, they have fermented it at a slightly higher temperature than they do in the New World. And what that does is maintains the grape's natural flavours and aroma profile in terms of how the French see it, all right? They also pick these grapes quite late in the season, which means they're optimum ripeness. So this Vouvray is a demi-sec. Demi-sec means off-dry, basically, right? Half dry, semi-dry, which means it's going to have a little bit of sweetness you'd expect in it. And that is guaranteed by picking the grapes late in the season. They've matured a lot, they've had a lot of sunshine, a lot of time to ripen, lots of sugar inside them, ready to produce lots of beautiful flavours and alcohol, importantly, obviously. So yeah, late season pick off old vines. So I think we should have a look at this wine without any further ado. So the colour, guys, of this one, have a wee look at that. It's got a lovely kind of, lemony kind of clarity to it, a little bit of a honeyed tinge, I would say, to it. Don't know, maybe that's just me. You see what you think. And then let's have a little smell of it. Now, I love the smell of this wine. It's not as powerful in the nose as some wines you might have smelt with me. So, for example, the Yulin Sauvignon Blanc in the bar. Yeah, it's crazy. You can open that and people next door can smell it. It's insane. This bit milder, but it's still got a lot going on there. It's still got this lovely kind of, I'm getting kind of walnuts and green gage in there, and a little bit of kind of a little bit of a kind of a honeyed walnuts, almost like candied walnuts or honeyed walnut smell going on there. I'm getting some maybe, what's the orange melon? Is it cantaloupe or something? Like ripe. It smells a bit like that, actually. Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of that smell going on, which is making my mouth water, actually. Oh, I love melons, eh? It'll go really well with that. Right, I'm going to have a little taste of this, guys. I can't wait any longer. This is one of my favourite wines in the bar. I'm excited. Right. Yeah, so it's amazing, my mouth watering. Having tasted that, it makes your mouth water. And that's the acid that we talked about, Chenin Blanc. When the Chenin Blanc grape is grown properly and is controlled properly, it should have high acidity. What that high acidity means is several different things, but it means it can age. You know, you can keep this wine. It also means that the wine's always going to be fresh tasting and crisp, and it will make your mouth water. You know, so that's a sign of, for me, it's a sign of a good wine, a good white wine. If you drink it and your mouth waters, it makes your mouth water, and you want another sip, that means it's got good acidity in it. Now with this one, because it's demi-sec, when you taste it, you're going to get sweetness. You're not just going to get dry, crisp style of Sauvignon Blanc style in there. You're going to get some sweetness in there, in that palate, and that it's kind of soft. The palate's quite soft, and that's because they keep this wine on the lee. You know, again, we talked about that recently. That's the dead kind of yeast cells and any particles in the wine when it's fermenting that are left in the bottom, and the wine's left with that underneath, that layer underneath it. And what that does is it softens the wine acidity a little bit and the taste. And in this case, they do it because it integrates the acidity really well with the sweetness. And I tell you, that is, you've obviously tasted it, I hope by now. It's really well integrated, really well balanced. It is sweet, but it's also acidic. It's got that acidity you get in a really crisp, dry white wine on a summer's day that you want, but it's also got that sweetness, which is just amazing. Like the marriage it's made in heaven for me. So I'm still getting a finish on this wine. So when you first take it in, you get that sweetness and immediately this rush of like acidity and crispness married really well. And it makes your mouth water. And I am getting the melon taste. I'm getting some nice citrus flavors in there. Nothing really kind of mouth stripping citrus though. It's gentle citrus flavors with melon and maybe kind of like a baked apple or something. Baked apples, maybe you made an apple crumble or something. Those apples are a bit caramelized, and it's got that going on in there, mixed with some syrupy taste. Honey. Obviously, I'm getting a little bit of honey in there, and maybe some agave syrup or something like that. We use that on our cocktails in the bar, and I tell you what, I love the stuff. I don't have sugar. I don't drink tea or anything, but I can eat that stuff. It's beautiful, and it's got that kind of aftertaste and a lovely ripe kind of honeyed ripe finish still going on. So that's a beautiful wine for my take. And as far as I would go with food on this one, guys, if you're thinking about what you're going to eat this with, it's a cheese wine for me. I think Chenin Blanc is quite a malleable wine for food, but for this particular one, with it being demi-sec, I would say cheese, and I would say goat's cheese. A goat's cheese dish would be fantastic with this. So you're talking like, I don't know, goat's cheese pasta or something, simple with some fresh olives through it. Nothing too overwhelming. Let that cheese come through. Light lemony cheese, or maybe a sheep's cheese, or maybe a Comté. Even for me, a Comté, man, it's never a bad time to have Comté, and this would work with that. So you could have this with a cheese board. You could have it with a cheesy pasta, a nice pasta dish with some cheese to it. Do you know? You could have it with a pizza if you're going to spoil yourself, but don't get me wrong, I love pizza more than the next man, more than I ought, probably. That's why I go to the gym all the time, because I eat pizzas like they're coming out of fashion. I wouldn't probably have this with a pizza because it's a bit too nice for me to drink Vivre with a pizza. It'd be a waste, not a waste, but it's a shame to spoil that wine. I'd have this with a really nice fresh pasta dish or something, right? So that's me wrapping up on this one. I'm going to finish that in a minute because it's too good to leave. And we're going to move on to the Chenin Blanc from South Africa, the Stormy Cape, right? I need to have a word with my glass washing staff. This is not quite acceptable. I might have to sack them. Actually, I think I wash the glasses. Can you sack yourself? No. Give it a go, see what happens. So being your own boss, it's weird. You can't really tell yourself off. You can be really too lenient on yourself, you know. You need someone above you to kick your ass sometimes, don't you? I guess I'll have to talk to the missus about that. So anyway, let's move on to this one. So we've got the Stormy Cape Chenin from South Africa. Now we talked about the different techniques again a little bit earlier on. Primary difference between New and Old World with Chenin Blanc is the fact that they mature the wines at different temperatures. They ferment them at different temperatures. So in the Old World, they do steel tank fermentation at cooler temperature, about 10 degrees lower roughly. And what that does, changes the profile slightly and brings out a different fruit flavour, which we will hopefully see, right? So the Stormy Cape, it's, let me see, so that's the Breed River Valley is where this wine's grown. And it's a very fertile valley. It's actually very, very favourable for all sorts of wine production, not just Chenin Blanc. They've got all sorts of soil types there and climates and stuff, microclimates going on. So, you know, you've got kind of alluvial soil there, which is fantastic drainage, gives great drainage. So, you know, it can downpour, you can have a hammered down with rain out there in one of the big storms, because obviously surrounded by you've got two oceans on there. They get a lot of rain, a lot of weather going through these valleys. And yeah, that alluvial soil has great drainage, so you're not going to get your vines drowning. So it's great for growing wines that want well-drained soil. It's also got very fertile soil closer to the riverbed itself, so it's good for other types of grapes that require richer soil, denser, richer soils. So it's a great little place to grow wine, and it's actually protected. The land's actually protected by, I think, like a kind of climate deal or something. And what they do there is they work with the wineries, including Stormy Cape, to ensure that they engage in responsible, ethical practice and socially friendly practices when they're making their wines. And they have all sorts of cool social programs in place out there. I guess across all of South Africa, actually, as far as winemaking out there goes, it's a hallmark of South African winemaking is that they do this great integration with social care, with housing, with staff, with getting people out of difficulties with finding jobs and stuff, or accommodation, bring them into the wine industry and give them a job, give them housing, and teach them sustainable practices and stuff. It's really cool, actually. It's the winemaking techniques in South Africa, I think. You know, they're one of the most endearing things about it for me. It's a cool place for making wine. I know people that have made wine out there, and yeah, it just sounds idyllic in many ways. You know, don't get me wrong. If I could go make wine, I'd make it out in France, just because. But you know, I've got French family and spent a lot of time out there, and it's just kind of where my heart is, I guess. But yeah, South Africa would be a very cool place, you know. And with my new trendy moustache, my hipster moustache, which is just for you guys today, you know, maybe I'd fit in out there. Maybe I'm cool enough. I don't know. Probably not, actually. Anyway, let's stop waffling and let's look at the wine. So, we've talked about how it grows out there, right? So, does it look any different? Do you not really? Not really. It's kind of a nice pale lemony colour. Maybe a little less of that kind of hazy, honeyed kind of tint to it that I could pick up on that one, on the Vouvray. Otherwise, it's pretty similar colour. I'm really going to have a word with my glass washers. It's just not acceptable. There's a couple of little marks here. Colour-wise, no, it's not a mile off. Now, ABV-wise, it's 0.5 more, so this is a 13. So I don't expect to see any particular variation in the colour or anything from that aspect at all. Let's have a little smell of this. Wow, that's so different. That is so different to the other one. Wow, it's a lot greener smelling. And also more upfront tropical fruit. Boom, straight away you've got mangoes in there and guava, you know, your standard kind of tropical fruits you're going to expect on a nice wine. Still a bit citrusy, but lemon and stuff going on in there as well. Almost a bit lemongrassy, actually. So a very fresh smell to this one, very different to the Vouvray, which is, you know, the kind of the green gauge and the ripe Cantaloupe melon and stuff. This is more tropical, much more tropical. Yeah, they've definitely toned up this one up, you know. I'm gonna have a little taste of it. Wow, it's a different wine, totally different wine. So yeah, it's really crisp, really dry. It has got that acidity, so that means they've looked after the grapes. The Chenin Blanc grape's good. It's got that high acidity. It's made my mouth water. It's much quicker, racy in the mouth. You know, it's a very racy little wine. It's very quick. That's that big burst of green fruits and you know, and tropical guava and stuff going on in there that you get boom up the front, and then it kind of finishes quite quickly. So it's kind of, the profile would be like up there and then coming down quite quick and then trailing off. Whereas the Vouvray for me is up and then it kind of stays here for ages, you know, and then kind of gradually goes down. So pretty different flavour profile, but yeah, it's got a lot of tropical fruit and I'm still getting a finish. The finish is still pretty decent. You know, price-wise, the Chenin Blanc from Stormy Cape is obviously less than the Vouvray. The Vouvray is more of it's an old world wine. It's also from one of the best Chenin Blanc regions in the world, recognised as such. Stormy Cape is from a fantastic wine region, but the price difference, I think you can taste that. For me, I would, you know, tasting the two blind, you'd be like, I think, okay, the first one might be a bit more expensive because of the quality. Not to say the quality is not there, and the Chenin Blanc from Stormy Cape is. It's just a quicker, racier, quick fix wine. You know, for me, this is the kind of one you'd get for you'd maybe take around to a barbecue at your mates. You're not looking to perhaps linger over this wine. You're drinking it because it's tasty, and it would go well with a barbecue, in my opinion. This would be great little barbie weather, maybe like today, you know, you get the barbie on, you get some seafood, you get some prawns on there, you get some, chuck a couple of snags on the barbie. This is the old Aussie habits coming out. Yeah, that kind of wine, right? And it's good for that. I think I would definitely have a couple of bottles of this quite happily over an afternoon with friends. Perfect. So yeah, you got your tropical fruits. It's crisp, it's dry, it's got that kind of green crispness to it, and a shorter finish, very clean tasting for me. All right. So out of those two wines, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and say I'm all over the Vouvray. For me, the Vouvray is the winner as far as I'm concerned. You know why? You know, I've told you, right? It's that finish, it's the sweetness married with the acidity, which is just off the hook. Really gets the mouth going, that one. It just makes you want to keep going. And you know, I swore today I wasn't gonna have anything to drink. It's really hard doing these wine tastings, because you're like, right, I'm not gonna drink today, I'm just gonna have a wine tasting. I'll have a tiny glass, that's it. I'm gonna close those bottles and go to bed with a book. And then you end up having half a bottle. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours. Actually, no, you've all got the same problem tonight because you've opened 2 bottles too. So welcome to my world. It's not fun. It's not glamorous. We just have to live with it, guys. It's not easy. Now, you let me know what you all think, though. I'd love to know your feedback on which you prefer and why. And if you haven't managed to get hold of a Vouvray, and I've managed to take a Chenin Blanc from Stormy Cape round to you today, but you didn't get the Vouvray, that's cool. We can get it to you another time. If you want it next week, let me know, and we'll bring you around a bottle then. We'll get more stock in next week, and it'll be worth trying it, honestly. Like, if you've just got the one today and you want to try that Vouvray, do get it. Or if you've got the, you managed to pick one up from the supermarket, you found one and it was all right, let me know what that was like. By all means, drop me your notes on it, or drop me an email or whatever. It'd be great to hear, guys. I hope you've enjoyed our little tasting. I hope you continue to enjoy tasting this wine after we knock off now. And have a great evening. And yeah, I'll speak to you next week. And if you do want to get involved in the Chardonnay next week, give me an indication sooner rather than later. You're going to be keen, and I'll make sure to put aside a couple of bottles for you, okay? All right, guys, take care.